Their crusades against politicians must change. That is the conclusion of a damning review into the body that represents rank-and-file police officers across Britain. Commissioned in the wake of the Plebgate scandal, first reported on this programme, this report accuses the Police Federation of bully tactics, bitter infighting and a complete lack of transparency over its £65 million in funds, including 30 secret bank accounts. Our Home Affairs correspondent Simon Israel has this.
Plebgate was the trigger for this review, that confrontation between Andrew Mitchell, then a cabinet minister, and a police officer at the gates to Downing Street. Some in the Police Federation used it to score political points. Today's report reveals the damage that brought the organisation, widespread dismay among members and a loss in public confidence. But that's not all. It identified bully boy culture among a group which manifested itself at conferences when ministers came to speak. But the review found the bullying is not just directed at outsiders. We have also been given evidence of bad behaviour within, including poor treatment of staff at HQ and the targeting of representatives in social media because they hold a different point of view.
It can be politicians, it can be policymakers, but it can be the Federation's own representatives. And that's one of the most insidious things about what goes on. This division and distrust weakens the Federation from inside.
His report made uncomfortable reading for the Federation's delegates today, especially the revelation that the organisation and its 43 branches are sitting on around £65 million in reserves, and that excludes 30 other accounts which branch officials refuse to disclose to the review. This lack of openness, it says, is a very urgent matter. This is particularly so, the report states, in relation to some of its branches' unpublished accounts, which create suspicion that they have something to hide, even when it is all above board.
Quite a number of people from within, including the members, said this kind of secrecy is not acceptable. We need to know what they're doing with this money, how much it is, and we couldn't get to the bottom of that.
Why not?
We did ask, but the branches said it was confidential. There were all kinds of excuses about why we couldn't have that information.
Valid excuses?
Well, we didn't think so, but of course we couldn't force people to give up their secrecy.
His report didn't quite go down as a lead balloon, but the reaction from the Federation, which is gathered in the building behind me, was somewhat muted. They are acutely aware that change must happen, but the scale and the speed of these suggested reforms mean difficult times ahead for an organisation which isn't used to being told what to do. Some delegates were described as quite shocked at what was being proposed.
I think there's a little bit of pain for everybody in there, as there should be. I think if we're going to move forward, we've got to make the change, and if it's painful, it's painful.
The Police Federation, which represents 130,000 officers, is staring into an abyss. Not since its statutory formation in 1919, following the one and only strike in police history, has it faced such a crisis. Its leaders have been warned if they can't reform, then politicians will step in.